Hey, aloha, everyone. Jason Donaldson here. I'm excited, a little nervous, doing my first live interview ever. This is going to be with Deepa from Let's Evolve Tarot. Let me go ahead and bring her on. Hey, Deepa, welcome.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm really good. Thank you. I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time to be here and working through all the little logistical details and technical issues, getting us to this place. So, while we're waiting for some people to join, I'm curious, like, how was your flow coming up to this today? Like the last couple of
Mm.
days as you step into more of this embodiment of putting yourself out there towards the world more and showing more of yourself, and even like the bio and everything I'm about to read. I'm just curious what that's bringing up for you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Going right in for it. Um,
Sorry. Hopefully that's not too much. I can read the bio first and give you some time
that's okay. No.
to adjust to what's
Um,
happening.
no, it's a really beautiful question because it's something that makes this lived experience, in my opinion, worth living. So all that hard stuff that comes up when we get ready to step up a level, in our lives and in ourselves, all that difficult, triggering, challenging stuff is like the meat and potatoes, or, the tempeh and potatoes for all the vegans, of like our growth. It gives us something to chew on and to digest. And through that process, a refinement comes and a evolution comes. So for myself, I've definitely felt, you know, I think what I experienced the most was just asking myself a lot of questions, you know, like, does this feel right? Is this right? Questioning any doubts that were coming up and where they were stemming from. One of the nights this weekend, I went through a process of intense triggering, and instead of allowing myself to spin out and get flooded and overwhelmed, I just sat down and did my meditation practice and used my breathing and my breathing practice and followed this thread to what it led me to was the depths of my past and the original kind of the root experiences that created this wound, at least in this life. So I was able to identify, where all this triggering was coming from. And then my projection, my ego's need to project that out onto my current experience dissolved. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is actually coming from something else. I can see that. Now I'm in observation mode. I've got distance, I've got perspective. So I'm giving myself a leg up. I'm giving myself a leg up by shifting my perspective, by doing my spiritual practice, by doing the work. And I think as humans, we've gotten into this habit of, is there something that can get me by in this moment? Is there something I can attach to when those triggers come up? Instead of resourcing that energy from within, we try to pull it from an external vice or person. And that's where we get caught in the attachment cycles and the suffering. And it's a loop, and it really is like something that will keep pulling on you and keep pulling you down. But when we can switch that off and choose to go inside during those challenging moments and work, that's when that's when the soil that's been tilled from our past challenges starts to grow flowers. And so I had that entire experience kind of encapsulated this weekend for myself, where I got to see it, in front of my own eyes and my own lived experience. Like, I made myself feel better, and it wasn't from a vice or attaching to another person or anything else. It was because I chose to go within and work.
Yeah, and doing stuff like this brings up that opportunity Like I felt that before getting on this interview to go live and never doing an interview before. It was like just the intensity and just remembering to breathe and be present. And yeah, it revealed kind of other times I felt like that, and to just be with it. And it's not what that is anymore. So thanks for being here with this. And for everyone that's here, I'm doing this through StreamYard. This is all pretty new for me, so my apologies. I can't really see who's on or anything. I'm going to try to get onto Facebook here in a second and see who's on so I can acknowledge everybody. But whoever's watching, I see there's 2 people. Thank you so much for being here. So Deepa and I have an offering we're going to be presenting to you guys. Well, actually, we've already presented it. It's called Galactic Shamans live tarot and energy readings. And we're going to be doing live YouTube every week where we get to share what's going on for the collective. And we also offer mini readings. And this is going to be, it's going to be valuable whether or not you want to pay for the reading. So please come check it out. We're going to do it every Thursday. And before we get into more of that, I want to read Deepa's bio. And so you guys can get to know a little bit more about who Deepa is. So Deepa has a BFA in modern dance choreography from Arizona State University. While she was attending college, she also became certified in marriage and family. Sorry. So while she attended college, she also became certified in massage therapy and Reiki. Her deep love for esoterics and philosophy inspired her to experience living in an ashram where she deepened her meditation practice, received over 500 hours in yoga training, and also became a trainer in Hatha yoga, teaching others to do the same. She is a certified Biddy tarot reader, Akashic record reader, light language practitioner, and spiritual release therapist. Deepa is consistently taking classes to expand her skills in psychic mediumship in order to strengthen her connection to the spirit world, her guides, and her connection to the cosmos. Deepa has been professionally offering readings through her website since 2020. So that's great. That's a lot as well. Like it reminds me of my description, myself, and I'm curious what that doesn't say. Like, what led you on that path? Like, what was your childhood experiences? And because a lot of that isn't a normal path in the West. It's stuff like tarot cards in general are thought of, as witchcraft and evil and something not to be played with in certain circles. And more in the collective, it's coming to the surface that this stuff's actually okay, and it's helping me connect to spirit and to connect to God in a sense. And how can this be bad? And I'm just curious, what was your experience growing up, being interested in this kind of stuff, or were you ever interested in this?
Yeah, I think, okay, so growing up, I had the great blessing to live in a 100-year-old house, and it was definitely what you would call haunted. And so I think that was my first experience with something other than like a physical being. It was like, whoa, there's energy here that I'm feeling that I can't see. And so that was probably the first exposure. And then, while we were living there, which was the whole of my childhood, except, minus 5 years right in the beginning, we would pass around ghost stories between all of us. It was me, my mom, my dad, 2 sisters, and my brother. And we've had pretty weird and varied experiences that we would pass along to each other. And that was probably the first exposure. Also, my mom, who I call a Catholic Wiccan, was always very gypsy witchy. And, she's a Virgo, so she was more into the plants and the herbs. And she always had a little witchy garden out in the backyard. And when I was 16, she gave me a tarot deck. And she was like, this is how you do it. This is how you read tarot cards. And I was like, immediately like, what? Just totally fascinated. Meanwhile, so before I was 16, my father passed away when I was 14 years old. So leading up to that experience of spiritual opening where she handed me this tarot deck was a tremendous amount of ancestral karma that all of us experienced together. My father being an alcoholic, a drug addict, and an abuser on many levels. So there was being born into a family with a very a tremendous amount of karma to transmute, and also feeling like, okay, I'm seeing this going on, but I'm also having my own questions coming up as far as like the cosmos. Like, for instance, I used to say to my mom, and this was probably when I was in high school, but I would say to her, I know we're not just here to pay rent. There is something going on. And she'd be like, oh, don't talk like that. You know, I'm like, there's something going on here. Like, I don't know how I knew, you know. And then one time, one of my friends was over and I looked at, I don't know where this came from, but I looked at this chair in the living room and I go, it was just like a teaching that came through or something. I look at her and I go, do you think that chair is made of energy? And she looked at it and was like, no. I'm like, it absolutely is. I can see it. And it was just like these deeper knowings I had, but had no clue why I knew or how I knew or anything. And then, so when he passed away, obviously that was like a massive shift, right? This really heavy karma moves out. And then I'm free to explore more of my spiritual side. And not only that, I'm more interested because I'm wondering what happens after death, all that kind of stuff comes up, right? And so as soon as I could, I started to explore, well, actually, the first place I went was Hawaii. It was actually Maui. And I moved to Maui for a little while and I studied to be a personal trainer. And that's where I had my first exposure of the islands and the energy of the islands. And I think that really set off my healing journey. So I think that was like the roots of it.
Yeah, it's hard to deny that when, you know, the subtle energy when you're in a haunted house. Like a lot of people I've met, you know, they won't talk about it in public, but there's times you're like, yeah, I've experienced something like that, you know, and because it's undeniable when you wake up in the middle of the night and there's a presence in the room or you see something and it happens continuously. It's not just your imagination, you know, it's.
Yeah. And we were able to prove through going through old newspapers what actually happened in that house. So it confirmed everything. It was pretty wild.
Yeah. I've experienced a lot of that here in Hawaii. Actually, there's a lot of
Yeah.
energy spirits here, and a lot of them are just connected to this place too. So it's not like you can get rid of it, cast it out. It's almost like you got to live with it and find a way to be like, well, it was here first, and it has a right to be here as well. But there's other ones that, when if they're coming at us and, you know, messing with us, it's different. But so that'll be interesting. We'll see if anybody calls with stuff like that when we do our YouTube lives.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Which kind of reminds me of spiritual release therapy, if you want to bring that up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me say hi to Deb, and Brian's on as well. Hey guys.
Hi. Thank you for navigating over here.
Yeah. Yeah. I was curious about that. What is a spiritual release therapy?
So spiritual release therapy is, it's basically an energy clearing kind of system. So it's based on the psychic medium seeing into and feeling into your energy. So all your chakras, your aura, your energy field, your house, your car, where you live, and checking into what is happening there on a deeper level. So I actually haven't done a spiritual release. I do it on myself a lot. I do it on my family members. I haven't done it in exchange with clients because I took it off the website. When I was doing it, I loved it. I fell in love with it. It's one of my passions. I feel like I'm in my element when I'm doing it. This could have to do, like I said, with my experience of living in a haunted house. For some reason, I have a knack for being able to clear spaces. So, you know, after you go through feeling into the person's chakras and their energy system and their aura, making sure there's no earthbound spirits attached, that, you know, it happens a lot throughout our day. Coming and going in all the places and all the people that we meet, you know, these spirits just need someone. Usually it's usually not a bad thing. They need some energy. They need some sort of security themselves. So they end up attaching to someone that feels safe to them, you know. And when you go deeper into it, sometimes these spirits actually have a karmic past with us. So it's not just random. But through the process, you basically use your guides to do all the clearing, any healing that might need to be channeled or opened up to. The person is just on the receiving end as you're sort of channeling everything you're seeing in the psychic level. And you're just going through a process of clearing what might be causing challenges for the person, confusion. A lot of times people go through like even addictive patterns that aren't their own, but could be this earthbound spirit's addictive patterns that are attached to them. So once you clear all that away, you can really allow the person to feel like themselves again. And it's a tune-up too. So right now I turned it into like a chakra tune-up and a mini energy check-in. And that's what's on my website now. So I still go through the similar protocol. I do it in the same way. I just don't do as big of one. So unless somebody asks, I won't do the house or the car, for instance. But I'll mostly focus on the chakras and the aura and things like that. So it's definitely a passion of mine I want to get back into. I just kind of was shifting into other realms of education. And I said, for now, I need to put that down. So I kind of paused it. But it's not over. It's just,
Yeah.
on pause.
That's definitely a shamanic,
Yeah.
ability. Like that's very necessary. Like I experience that like whenever we do any kind of group or even working with clients individually or ceremonies, like breathwork ceremonies, it's stuff that's shed off. People let go of it. And I've often found it's often like a mental thing. Like these things
Yep.
create a space in the person through these thoughts and beliefs, and it creates a home, and it can actually create like like the thoughts can actually create entities and things too. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I've experienced that as well, but there's ways we can clear it. Like that stuff's easier to get rid of. That's super not easy, but like, we can all learn to do that. And then there's other stuff like what you're talking about too, that you need a little assistance and like perspective with, because like you can't really see it if you're in it kind of thing. So I love that. And you were trained in that somewhere?
Yes, actually, there's this woman on YouTube. Her name is Made for Love, and she's a beautiful channel. Like she's just so clear, and she reads in all kinds of different ways. And she's been teaching spiritual release therapy for a couple of years. So yeah, she's who I learned and was trained through. And I think she was probably the first person, one of the first people who got me comfortable with the psychic realm, where I would say, I don't know if I'm making that up. And she's like, no, it's real, like kept bringing me back to my center. This is real. This is what you're picking up. Tell me what you see. And just like super like hard nosed in a loving way, had just like this vibe of this reality that we're feeling into exists. And you can help people by reaching into it, tapping into it, and, offering something here, bringing some love through whatever it is that they need. So
yeah, that's what I felt with like the Buddhists will say it's all just mind stuff, and they're right, and at the same time it is real because the mind makes it real. And like I always took it when they said, oh, it's just mind stuff, it's not real, like it's just my imagination. But it is a real thing, especially if you're in addiction patterns or alcoholism, drugs. I mean, it's really heavy and intense, and it takes a while to shed that. Like I went through that myself, where there was just this field of energy around me, and it drew those things. And so yeah, it's absolutely real. And then there's ways to clear it. And I don't, and what I find interesting is like the more we talk about it and think about it, the more it becomes an issue. And I've seen that in certain communities too, where it was like this focus on the negative alien agenda and all this stuff that's being perpetuated on humanity, which is good to be aware of. But then it becomes like everything's a distortion. All actors are, drinking, adrenochrome and all this stuff, which I don't think is the case. But the mind starts to look for these patterns that may or may not be there. But I found like our nature of our reality is that what we focus on is what we become aware of. And like working with people in general, is I was taught, my supervisor when I was at the clinic, she taught me like, you always look at the health in people. You always look at what is healthy rather than the diagnosis or the problem, because there is no problem. That there's a being in there that's healthy, and it's just bringing that person out. And ultimately, like I see it as their spirit. And then what I'm excited about working with you with is you understand this galactic perspective and the galactic self, and that part of us that is connected to like all these other lifetimes on other planets, and just seeing that in people, seeing a person's galactic self. Like my brother, he's a really good mechanic, and he's got a really good mind for figuring things out, building houses and all that stuff. And I got a vision of him being like a star architect, like his very highest expression of self, not in a human form or anything, is like a being that creates solar systems and magnificent, dances of planetary bodies and celestial bodies and all that stuff. And it might be my imagination, but it's like that's what I get when I tune into him. It's like, oh wow. And other people, you get this mermaid vibe from, and like aquafarian. And so I'm super excited to be doing this kind
Yeah,
of work
it's
with
so
you.
fascinating.
Yeah. So let me ask, there was something else I'd written down I really wanted to ask you about. Um, oh yeah, the dancing. So
Mm.
do you care to elaborate on the dancing? Do you still dance, or how's that
Um,
showing up in your life today?
yeah, right now, no. My most recent experience with dance was Hawaii Irish dance. Me and my daughter danced with them for a couple years. I love Celtic dance, Celtic traditions, and I'm studying the Celtic fiddle. So I'm mostly focused on learning this extremely complicated instrument, the violin, which they call a fiddle in, more traditional folk realms. Um, than I am dancing these days, but I grew up dancing. I started dancing when I was 7. And I think that that is probably ultimately what first got me in touch with healing, like healing through the body.
Mm.
Like after my father died and after I graduated from high school, I was like, what am I going to do? I had no real draw toward anything. And my mom was like, well, why don't you dance? I'm like, oh, you can go to school for that, in college. I didn't really know. We were pretty sheltered. I grew up on a farm in the middle of Ohio, and the Amish were our neighbors. The Amish people were our neighbors. So it was pretty quiet upbringing for the most part. Um, so I was like, okay. So I just went, decided to go to college for modern dance. And what I learned through the process was how much we hold in our bodies, and how you can naturally unlock that through movement and breath. That's where I first obviously learned how to use my breath. So I love it. It brings me so much joy. It didn't take me into my career. Like I thought it was going to be my career, and I never felt like carrying it forward after college, even though it was absolutely my focus, like 200% while I was experiencing it. I went into choreography, which helped me be in my creative element, which I love, being creative in all kinds of ways. So that nurtured that aspect of it. And immediately it kind of shoved me right into yoga and meditation. So it just went from dance to yoga and meditation, which is how I ended up in the ashram. So I still dance like for fun, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not the focus right now, but it's my passion, one of my passions.
Yeah, I think it was Sadhguru that said like all yogis dance. Like like
Yeah.
everyone. Well, I guess most people in India will dance because it's like this. It's like breathing. You need it, the movement, and that part of our vitality. And I've seen that just since living here in Hawaii. Is even the dance style is very different with the ecstatic dance. Like I grew up with more of the urban, club
Mm.
scene, and
Yeah.
it was much more robotic and and maybe it was just me, but you come here and it's like fluid and flowing.
Yeah.
You're doing little twirls and spins, and I'm like, I would never have done that in my 20s or when I was an adolescent. And now it's like I don't care. Because it feels good on the body, and
Yeah.
yeah, you get
Yeah.
those
It's
releases.
a way to exercise and also be in your joy, which with exercise, it can be very mechanical and robotic. So it's a way to have those two marry and come together.
Yeah, not saying hip hop dance is like that, but like my style was much more like masculine. Like I'm not gonna be fluid and
I'm not
flowing.
going to show my
Yeah,
vulnerable side.
I'm not gonna show my feminine side at all.
Right.
So yeah, and so with everything you've learned, everything that you're doing now, how does that translate to what we're going to be offering with the Galactic Shamans live tarot readings? And
Mm. When I feel into that question, it feels like just like a tremendous honoring of the way that we're moved with the cycles of life here on earth. And I think that that connects back into dance. You know, every time we danced, we had drumming, live drummers with us. So somebody was always playing the djembe. I actually went to Africa and studied the djembe there in African dance, and see them so deeply in their bodies. There was just no difference between them, the drumming, and the dancing. And you would see like 7-year-olds just absolutely the most rhythmic thing you could, just mind blowing. So there is this element of that is always inside of me that is probably going to come through, which is how can we move? There's this quality of movement and energy. How can we dance with life? How can we move gracefully or with grace and ease through our most difficult challenges and through what life offers us? And how can we find a way to flow with it or ride the wave? Like we always use that terminology here in Hawaii because of the surfing and everything. How can we ride the wave and not get pummeled by it? And so this is where we bring in our spiritual tools and our techniques to keep, to give us that raft through, like I said, the ocean of samsara so that we can make it to the other side safely, or to give us that surfboard so that we can surf the wave. These spiritual tools are perfect metaphors for those things. And I think that is probably what's really going to come through the most is, okay, what I'm feeling into for whoever wants a reading at the time. The cards are going to tell us so much beautiful information and give us so much gorgeous imagery through archetype. And then what's going to come through probably is, okay, how can I help this person see their power in this situation, see their options, start to connect with limitless possibility through what's being offered through this challenge, and help people just start to see, like, okay, where can I take this? Where can I grow with this? How can I grow with this? And to see that we're never boxed in. It might feel like that at times through our challenges, but we're not alone. We're not boxed in. We're not trapped. And to find a way to work with those feelings that are coming up when we do feel them, because they can be extremely, what's the word? Oppressive.
Yeah, that's what I'm playing with lately is like, is it oppressive or is it just like my power coming back? I'm working with this man they call the spell breaker, and it is that. It's like breaking these spells of these programs we've been told of, like good, bad, a lot. Like he'll do this thing like, is this a lot? What about now? It's like, is this big or small? And it's all like this perspective. And I'm not negating what you're saying. I'm just saying like, oh, well, what if it is just like just an emotion and it's just coming up and for a reason, and it's there to like help us get our power back, is really what he's been saying, is like when that shows up, that's our power. And that's what's creating our reality, is that push, this power could be used to create our reality, but instead we push it away, and then it creates something to come and feel itself again. So it's going to create this drama or this static or this whatever it is, this cycles that everyone seems to be stuck in. And so, yeah, like you connecting them to like who they truly are and what their power is and their sovereignty, in a sense, like all that falls away and it can be honored, when it shows up. Like what you were describing earlier with, you just breathed with it. You did your spiritual practice. You found the thread, the line. And same with me, I'm might as well share it publicly. I'm going through a breakup, and it's really like a mature one, and it's really like loving, and it's just happened. And so I'm doing this interview too, and I'm just like, oh man, this is really coming up for me. And I'm feeling it, and it's okay. It's a lot to feel still. And I think that's what we'd be able to help others with, is like getting people to a really good place and understanding that life's still going to happen, and we're going to have to feel it. And then, with the tools and context and the love and the support. And even if you don't get a reading, like we're going to offer that, if you show up on the live calls every Thursday, we'll do probably, I was feeling like we do a collective reading or something to start it off. And then we talk about the energies that week and everything that's happening. kind of a little what's going on in our lives and what we're tracking, and see what other people say, and then offer readings would be, I think, really helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's so important to not emphasize the need to always be in this heightened state of excitement and happiness. Like, these are experiences that we have as humans that are joyful and fun, but to also understand like the challenging moments and the sad moments are extremely valuable for our growth and our evolution, and they're why we're here on this planet. And if we get hung up on trying to be happy all the time and then are constantly recognizing or beating ourselves up for not being happy, that's where we can really start to feel trapped. I mean, honoring all of the emotions. I think it was Rumi that said, honor each emotion as a guest in your house. Every single experience is valid for different reasons. And so if we start to see ourselves as these really dynamic and colorful and expressive beings in all ways, then we can honor ourselves for what we are as humans and spiritual beings, and not try to pigeonhole ourselves into, look, I'm happy and this is what it feels like and looks like, when a lot of us are still trying to figure that out or exploring with that. So if we kind of go with this idea of, how about we just explore life? How about we just get super creative and really curious and really playful and drop the box and just get messy with it? Just feel it and just own that and everything you're going through. And I think there'll be this new energy of, now I feel alive, and that's all that matters. And then there's going to be these moments of elation, and there's going to be these moments of like, what the F, but all of it is part of like the whole of this humanness. And I think to honor that, that is why we came here, to experience all aspects of our emotional selves, all aspects of our spiritual selves, all aspects of our physical and mental selves, and to stop trying to force one thing and one reality. We can just really give ourselves a lot of room to breathe.
Yeah, it's like being a dancer that just wants to do their dance, and even though there's a partner in front of you, it's like that person's going to get hurt if you're just doing your own moves all the time and they're trying to get close. They won't get close. And I think that's what I've learned a lot too, because that's like the masculine principle too, is like, this is what I do, and this is what I got to get done, and this is what I need to accomplish, and this is the way I move. And then it's like, well, I got to be able to feel and sense and navigate what is as it is. And, a lot of that's the emotion, which hasn't always been supported in our society to feel, both men and women, so I agree. So let me also ask you, you have a lot of different tarot cards, like the decks. How many do you have? How's your style of reading different than maybe other tarot readers? And also, like, is there a difference between like oracle decks and other tarot decks?
Okay, I'll start with the last. So tarot is specifically, a 78 card deck system, and you have it. It's always like, here's the major arcana, here's the minor arcana. You're going to see very similar swords, cups, pentacles, and wands, very similar suits and energies in every tarot deck. So tarot decks have that all in common, although they can have completely different artistry and imagery, and they do, which is why tarot readers end up collecting decks, because they're gorgeous as far as the art is concerned, and they're so unique, and they're perfect collector's items. So I think between tarot and oracle cards, I probably have like 160 decks. I've slowed way down because obviously there's only so much time, space, and money. But oracle decks are really fun because they totally go off the cuff. Like, they're not that at all. They're not traditional. There's not a system. You're not going to see the same cards usually. You could have oracle decks for love. You could have oracle decks more focused on career. You could have oracle decks focused on spiritual development and evolution, cosmic oracle decks. So that's where you can get really nichey and use a specific oracle deck for a specific type of reading. Like, if I were going to do a love reading, for instance, I might pick my tarot deck that I feel is like extra lovey-dovey and always talks in an interesting way about relationships, and then pick an oracle deck that supports love messages, whether that's through relationship growth and healing, or just like what could be going on with the relationship on a deeper level. What's the spiritual lesson in this? So you can really curate. So that's where you kind of become the curator of your decks and how you become your own reader. You kind of curate your own readings, what decks you want to use with what reading, and then bring really something really special and unique to the viewer that is, or the client that is receiving the reading. So I guess how I would be different is, for one thing, regardless, I always have the Akashic records open, at least my own, if not the other person's. So I'm getting like a broader perspective of what's actually happening behind the scenes. Maybe like if the card shows me one thing, I can get a little bit more detailed information about what's specifically going on with the person. And that comes through psychic awareness too, and your clairs. So that element comes into it. I think I just have, so basically in astrology, I have a stellium in Cancer. So my sun is in Cancer, my rising sign is Cancer, my moon and my Venus. And Cancer is all about the fields. Cancers are really, they're ruled by the moon. So I spend most of my time in this sort of alpha state where I can dream and imagine, and I can feel a lot of things that are going on with people. And most of the time I don't say anything because, first of all, it's private. Second of all, it's awkward. And unless they're getting a reading, it's not necessary. Or they ask me
upset too,
specifically.
Right?
So I can feel things on a really deep level because I have this so much Cancerian in my chart. It's just all moon energy, all subconscious stuff. So that comes through the reading really strongly. So I tend to pick up on things that, maybe a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit more core truth, a little bit sometimes harder to hear, but I feel like I'm very clear. I try to be really clear. I try to be deeply loving with everything that I do. That's part of the Cancerian thing, to be very, very nurturing, very mothering. That's the Cancerian quality. There's this healing energy that comes through just naturally that I want to offer and be a channel for. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest difference is you're not going to get a cold reading from me. It's going to be very warm, very grounded, very loving, just more like guidance.
Yeah, I feel that with you. Like when I first met you, it was like, um, not only was there that, but it was like a recognition from other lifetimes, and I felt like you really saw who I was, and it just felt really comforting to not have to like, you know, explain anything. Yeah, and I think it was a lot of energy, honestly, and it kind of confused me. I was like, why does this woman like me so much? Why is she, I'm like, why is she like so excited to collaborate with me? And I think it's just like me owning, what I can do and how I can help people too. Cause like you were saying with the spiritual release therapy, like how you haven't really been using it except for with your family and with yourself and stuff like that. It's like, bringing it out to the world is kind of scary, especially something like of that nature up until now has been kind of laughed at. And now more and more people are talking about astrology and tarot cards and chakras. And it's become like the thing. Breath work, meditation it's all the stuff that sustains us, just like the dance and the music and singing and everything I see humanity coming full circle with that. And like your gifts are needed, absolutely. And so that's why I'm excited about this, is that you do really see people and you do really hold them in a loving place.
Thank you for seeing that. That's really sweet and special. Thank you.
Yeah. And so tell us about your family a little bit. You have a husband. It's an amazing DJ, and you have two daughters. Right,
yeah,
Brian?
my husband.
He's still
Yeah,
on.
my husband's online, I think, hopefully. His passion is music. He's an electronic dance music DJ. He plays house music and creates his own music and is a teacher. I think his probably shining light is his ability to be patient and teach other people how to do the same thing. And he's absolutely genius in his understanding of these machines that are coming out now, drum machines, synthesizers. I mean, it's mind blowing. So I see a lot of Orion lives with him. Definitely. He's somebody who could take things apart, put things back together. He actually does that with his day job, working with pumps and problem solving. So all those qualities come in. He's an incredible husband and father. So sweet. and patient. We have two little girls. One is 11, one is 7. They have they're both Scorpio risings, so they are passionate, deep little girls with cosmic, imprint inheritance, and who are here to express their greatest joy and also at the same time push all of your buttons. Like, I want to we're here to like make our parents grow and evolve. So having babies because of my own childhood, wow, that was intense. That was intense. So I realized, like, okay, thank goodness I had babies, because wow, they really grew me. They really evolved me in massive ways. So much healing, so much understanding of my own wounds. I saw myself copying and repeating my parents. All that has been transmuted. I mean, not all, but a lot. So it's been amazing, but intense.
Yeah, I bet. Kids really can do that. Like,
Yeah.
and I find it so interesting because it brings up all this stuff. Well, I didn't get to do that as a kid. You shouldn't be able to do that, or when I was a kid, this is what I went through, and almost like feeling like they need to go through it, or feeling guilt, like um what's the word, like jealous that they had it's so much
Mm.
easier for certain kids, like, oh man, I didn't have to go through that, like, you got it easy, and then trying not to say that, because that's just not
Yeah.
helpful to anybody, to be like, perpetuating
No.
that idea of
Yeah.
this is how kids are supposed to be, and this is how they're supposed to act, when really a lot of it is just letting them be the beings they are, and guiding and having like strong boundaries with certain things. But a lot of it is like, you know trying to control kids too much. And we see it in the schools. I worked in a lot of schools, and it's like prison. I know people are trying really hard, and it's not bad, and it's a loving environment, and at the same time there's a lot of like rules, and a lot of like stay here, do this. And Hawaii is a little better, but I'm really hoping to see an evolution of the education system, and these things where they're being forced on the children, that aren't really interested in math and science, and yet that's what they continually need to learn. And which, it's good to have a foundation in it, but there's dancers, and there's artists, and there's tarot card readers, and mediums, and all kinds of things, and warriors and explorers. So those are the ones I worked with. They're like the warriors and the explorers that just they're the kind of Kolohe and want to get in trouble and rile things up. So
Yeah, and it's interesting, like getting to know your kids and what they want. Like, we're always like, what's your passion? What do you want to do? And where do you put your energy? Like Akasha, from the time she was a baby. Like, first of all, she loved being a baby, loved it, but she just didn't want to not be a baby. But since she could talk, she was telling me, I want 3 kids. I mean, she just knows she's going to be a mother.
wow.
So, and Sati never really brings that up. So it's interesting to watch them both, express their desires. Sati always talks about space and black holes and exploring in that way. So I try to introduce her to her starseed side and where she may have come from, and galactically. And I try to tell her about, galactic history, and her mind just goes, she loves it. She sucks it right up. And Akasha's not really interested. So it's interesting to see their different likes and
Yeah,
dislikes and what they're drawn to.
that's awesome. You got to just be there and pay attention to what they're interested in, and guide them towards other things, expose them to new things.
Yeah.
What a cool mom to have.
Ah, we're trying.
Yeah, yeah, and dad.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that people don't really know about you? I'm going to ask the question. It's like
Okay. The question.
the question. What's the one thing most people don't know about you that you'd like them to know, or you want to share?
Let me think about that. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think this is kind of fun, but I'm a really good traveler. Like, I can put 5 things in a bag and travel around the world and feel at home anywhere. And I love new cultures and exploring new places. And I'm super comfortable on my own. I'm super comfortable by myself. Um, I don't mind exploring, different countries alone. At first, when I was younger, that was more nerve wracking, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten more comfortable with it. So yeah, I think I'm a really passionate about the world and about different cultures and traveling, things like that. Definitely like light me up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So should we share a little bit more about our offering and what we're going to
Yeah,
be doing together? And
yeah, let's do that.
okay, yeah. So basically, we're going to be offering live tarot readings, energy readings every Thursday, 11 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time, and this is something that's going to grow and evolve. I'm super excited about it because I just love like talking about this galactic history and like energy and what's happening around us and in our environments. And when people call in or want a reading, to be able to tune in to who they are and where they're at, and be able to help them remember, in a sense, like the truth of who they are beyond all this illusion is one of my favorite things. Is kind of like a teacher when the student gets the thing and they're like, oh yeah, I get it. It's like that. Like you tell somebody something, or you remind them of something, and then they get it and they remember, and it's like, oh, I knew that already. And so it's like this dance of sharing information in a way that a person can hear it, that it's helpful, and it empowers them, versus like too much too soon, where like you're revealing the end of the movie or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely. And I've been feeling too like we can go. I think this is probably a question a lot of people have. I had it, as I was exploring all this new stuff coming in and the new earth and what is this all about and who am I becoming through all these light code activations anyway? Um, is what is the difference between the way we were taught to be a human and how we're evolving as a human species? So what is a third density human and what is a fourth density human, and how do I shift from one to the other? Do I even want to? And what does it entail, and what are the spiritual tools I need to be able to get there? Like, for instance, what does a codependent relationship look like compared to an unconditionally loving relationship? Most of the time, those are a lot of old 3D paradigms that start to show up in codependent relationships and in 3D relationships. But in the fourth density concepts and consciousness, what you're going to see is a lot more unconditional love and a lot more expansion and sharing and allowance. There's this I'm loving you and everything you're all about. Like there's no, like I said, box around the connection, the person. So there's so many questions I think people have about, okay, if this is what I was and it's not quite working anymore, where the heck am I going and what does it actually look like? And, so I definitely think that's going to be coming into play a lot. Like, what does it feel like to live in the new earth? What does it look like? And a lot of this, what we're going to find out is, well, what do you want it to look like? How do you want it to feel? What would feel good for you?
Yeah.
And like exploring that with each other and yourself is going to be like, I think a lot of it has to do with, well, what resonates with you now? How do you want your life to feel? Like, what do you want it to look like? And so just giving people like canvas and a medium and like, just express and be yourself. I think it's like, people are like, what? I can be myself. Are you sure? Like,
Yeah. What if people get upset and, oh, that's not possible and that's not the way the world is? It's like, why not? Why
it's time
can't it
to
be like
create
that?
something new. And I think a lot of us are feeling that, definitely.
Yeah, and it's happening. I mean, the fact that there's so many people are talking about meditation and breath work and tarot cards and you know um, races from other galaxies and UFOs and all that stuff is becoming very mainstream. It's just the evolution of our consciousness back to like the connection to the galaxy, to our to our galactic heritage, to eventual visitation in some like very physical way. Um, and that all can be kind of scary because the mind doesn't know what that is. How does that look? What does that look like? And it can only look at movies and books
Mm-hmm.
we've read or things we've thought or experienced in the past. It has no clue or concept. But our intuition, our inner knowing, can get a sense and feel it, and may even get visions of it sometimes. But that's what I see is a lot of like this mentalization of life versus, can I dance and feel and flow with things and allow the feelings to come up and everything else.
Yeah, I think it's a really vulnerable time because when we are being asked to be ourselves, we first have to get in touch with that. We have to allow those emotions to come up. We have to get comfortable with it. And then we're going to be asked to share it. It's the natural evolution of your soul, to share what you're growing inside. There's this point at which you're cultivating it, you're growing it, and then it comes out to be shared. And that's the moment where we're like, hey, vulnerability, which is what we're experiencing, you and I, Jason, definitely through this experience. And it's so wonderful to go on this journey together and share, okay, what's coming up for you, what's happening. I love that first question that you asked me because this is happening now in real time, and we are not perfect, and we are in the middle of our healing and evolutionary journeys just like everybody else. And if the more we're open about it and talking about it, I think it's just going to be really helpful. Like, okay, everybody's human, everyone's going through the same thing, so let's just let's dish, get the coffee, get the tea.
Yeah. And when you get to like fourth, fifth density, I mean, it's going to be obvious beyond the words and beyond the poised exterior what's really going on with people. Like, we're all starting to feel, I believe, maybe it's a projection, but we're all starting to feel a little deeper our connections with others and nature and everything else, like, because it is all connected. And yeah, I've always tried to be as real and honest as possible without divulging too much. And that was the thing I wanted to share is, like, I mentioned my relationship and the ending of that, and I I'm really like happy with how it worked out because I always chose love with her, no matter what I saw that I thought was negative or a flaw. It was like we offered that thought or that idea to project onto her because there's really nothing wrong with her. That's my perception. So I always try to come back to and choose love despite that. And then, it was really beautiful and great. And we had challenges and we're going in slightly different directions. And it was really interesting to separate the way we did, where it was a lot of love and a lot of like maturity. And it's really, and it still hurts, I still feel it, but I never experienced that kind of separation at that level because I've changed. I've allowed myself to feel, even though I'm scared, even though I'm hurting,
And
like
that's
even
exactly it.
it's like I got all this kind of tension. I got to just breathe and relax and let
Yeah,
go.
like you didn't slam the door in each other's faces.
Yeah, because that's easier, right? It's
Mhm.
easier to be like, I don't like what I'm feeling. I'm gonna project this onto the other person. It's their fault. Or if you would have done this, it would have been different. Or even my own thing, like I did something wrong. Otherwise, she'd want to be with me, But it's like maybe we're not to be together, or maybe we'll come back
Yeah.
together later. And it's who's to say? And I think that's what it reminded me of when you were talking about the new earth and what's possible is, this ability to just be in the world and allow it to be something more amazing than we've ever experienced before because we let go of the idea of what it should be.
Yes. Allowing the magic, allowing the mystery, allowing the unknown. It's big
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're almost out of time. Where can people find out more about you and also your offerings and connect with you and everything?
So let's evolve together. Tarot.com is my website. So you will see about 2 readings a week show up on YouTube at Let's Evolve Together. And then I'm consistently in touch with the community through Instagram, which is Let's Evolve Together Tarot. And I think I'm always just trying to keep people going, keep people involved, keep people checking in with their energy and just sharing with what's coming up. So I'm really active in the social environment, social media. And then if anybody wants a private reading, if those collective readings aren't doing it, you can do everything through the website, let's evolve together tarot.com.
Awesome. Yeah, your pick-a piles are really good. Deepa has these pick-a piles on YouTube where you just pick from 3 different options. I think it's on Instagram too. And
Sometimes I throw little ones up there. Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really powerful. It's been great, helpful for me.
Thank you.
A couple of those.
Yeah. And then did you give all the details about the tarot show?
You want to do that?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. As Jason said, it's called Galactic Shamans Live Tarot and Energy Readings. It's going to be every Thursday, with the very first show being April 20th, this Thursday. So please come. We would love that. Definitely more than anything. Let's see. If you would like a reading from both of us, you'll get a reading from both of us when you ask a question for $28, or you can just show up and be a part of the conversation, which would also be fun. And it is at 11 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time, which is 2 p.m. Pacific. And I don't know Eastern what that would be. Deb, help us, Deb.
Should be like 5 p.m., I believe.
Yeah. Okay. A little tricky, but I think that's it. We're going to be doing tarot, oracle, energy readings. Yeah. So I think that's.
Yeah, you can find it on our YouTube channels.
Yes.
Let's Evolve Tarot or Jason Donaldson Healer. And we may even stream it to Facebook as well. So.
Yeah. So we just have to work out the little glitch that we hit today. That's all.
Yeah. Right before the interview is like, okay, this isn't working. I got to set up an account. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do all that. Okay, let's just do it.
It was Mercury's in the shadow. It was expected. We're about to hit Mercury retrograde. This is so interesting. I know we didn't do this exactly on purpose. Thursday, the first showing of this show, solar eclipse, new moon in Aries, Mercury retrograde, and the sun moving into Taurus from Aries. Mega day astrologically. Why we chose to do the show on that day, I'm just going to offer it up to the guides. Maybe it was their choice. They're like, yeah.
Well, my moon is in Aries and my Mars is aligned with the Galactic Center. Well, pretty close. So I like them. I like that energy.
You like the power of it?
I just like, I'm probably from Orion too. I'm sure I spent time there and the electric wars and all that, but I like the military. I like the, guns and cars and all that stuff. And I'm like a hippie guy and I like to meditate and, dance and play music and stuff. So it's that side of me I really kind of, I want to say suppress, but I don't always let out as much, that Aries energy.
Yeah, totally. And right now Mars is in Cancer. So I'm like, let's go.
Yeah,
hit the nail on the head. We're just like, well, there's fire happening on Thursday and we're gonna roll with it and we're gonna be there. So bring your crazy solar eclipse questions, I guess.
Yeah, bring your weirdo self and hang out with us. Nothing's too weird for us.
For sure.
Very interesting lives and times of I don't know about Deepa, but I'm verge of madness for me. And I found my way out and and I'm still gonna own those parts that people think is crazy because that's who I am.
Yeah, and that's where the growth is.
Totally. Well, awesome, Deepa. Thank you so much for being here and allowing me to ask you all these questions. And I'm really excited to collaborate with you. And you're just such a blessing in my life. And I see how great you are and amazing. And I really want more people to experience that because you are truly a gifted tarot reader. I know because I was trained by a good one and met many other ones. I've had many readings and yours are just very thorough and very precise and a lot of clarity and also the other knowledge you bring to it. It's more than just tarot. It's, you're tuning in, you're tapped in. So I just want to acknowledge that. And
Thank you.
To see what happens Thursday. I have no clue, but it's going to be
Either
great.
Way, we're going to be partying on Thursday.
Yeah.
Bring your tea, bring your fun stuff, your slippers, and get cozy. We're going to have a fun tarot show.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you everyone
for watching.
Aloha.
Aloha, everyone.